Well, hey guys, and welcome to Red Dog Bushcraft. I'm Tim Langston, and today we're going to continue with the cutting series talking about knives. We're going to start diving into a subject that is very much talked about, and a lot of controversy takes place in both the survival, the bushcraft community, the hunting, the fishing, you name it. People who love knives and that enjoy using knives. A lot of debate goes on about what is the best knife. The simple answer to that, as Dave Canterbury says, the knife you happen to have on you when you need one. That's his answer to what's the best survival knife. But really, there are some attributes that we need to look at if we're going to make a financial investment into some knives. And not all knives that I have in my collection are for survival or for bushcraft or woodcraft. Some are specifically for skinning, some are for butchering, some are for kitchen type duties, some are designed around other aspects of my life. But when it comes to a major purchase like a knife and something that so many people are passionate about, I think there are some characteristics that we need to look at. So this is kind of an introduction as a just my humble opinion, because I do not have every knife on the market at my disposal to try. Excuse me while I drink a little bit of this hot coffee as we continue this discussion, but it's snowing out here again today. We just can't seem to get away from the cold weather, but got a fire going. It's warm on the backside here and can enjoy that between shots, and I thought we would continue and try to get as much of this information out as we can, so bear with me. Alright, so as we start looking at knives, let me just ask you a question. This right here, this is a Mora knife. Mora makes a great knife. It's loved by many. Is this the perfect bushcraft knife because of its ability to do fine carving? There are people out there who say they can do everything they need to do with this knife. Its cost, it's very affordable. The quality of production is pretty daggone high quality. So is this the perfect knife? Some people say you would start out with a knife like that and move up to something like this. This is a knife made by Condor. It's a company out of El Salvador, and they prefer this knife because it's full tang, but it is still of a size and design that it works well for bushcraft and survival. Can be used for many other purposes. So is that the perfect knife? Here of late, this right here, the good old tried and true, been around for hundreds of years, butcher knife. This is an old hickory. There's a lot of movement now towards, hey, just go out and buy you an old hickory. They come in different shapes and sizes. They have different purposes, but an old hickory is hard to beat. Is there any validity in that? And what makes the old hickory superior or inferior to any of the other knives we've looked at? What about this? This is a Rapala by Martini fillet knife. Is there any purpose for this in our hunting or our bushcraft or our woodcraft kit? Does it have a place with us? Is it worth the wait? Maybe, maybe not. Here we have a Martini, but this particular model is in stainless steel. Stainless. What's the options there, and why would we choose to have a stainless steel knife versus maybe something like this Rat 4 that's a high carbon steel by Essie? Nice thick blade, 1095, high carbon steel. This particular model is coated, but that coating can be rubbed off to do the things that people specifically talk about as far as utilizing that type of a knife, or even a knife that's more of a tactical design, like this one here that was made by Tops Knives for the Pathfinder School. Is there a place for this type of knife. Or because we're talking about bushcraft and survival, do we have to move up to the line of this hybrided sheath PLSK2, a smaller version of my PLSK1, heavy duty, one tool option, but in a smaller version, or Dave himself's knife that he carries most of the time, and I'm finding myself very fond of, the Pathfinder Scout. Large knife, many different uses, traditional butcher style design in a high carbon steel. Many would call that the bomb-proof knife. So how do you sort through all of this? Different metals, different types, different handle profiles, different ways of carrying the sheath, many different options out there. Well, it goes back to what we discussed in many of our other video that we've done talking about tools. I think the first place that you need to start is thinking about, what am I intending for this knife to do? Knives are very much like a carpenter's toolbox. Within that toolbox, he has many hand tools. Some of those tools can be used for multiple purposes. And if a tool happens to break, or he doesn't have it with him that day, he may have another tool that will get the job done, maybe just not as efficiently or as well, or will not do as good a job as his intended tool, but yet he can utilize that to get the job done. That's the way I want us to think about our knives. Now, we're going to take some of these knives, and I'm going to have an entire series where we're going to probably talk about one knife at a time. And there's already several videos already on my channel that talk about a couple of specific knives. And a couple of them were unboxing or the knife brand new in my first impression. But most of those knives I had already used in the past. Someone had loaned me one long enough that I knew I wanted that knife before I ordered it, and I felt like I could talk about it a little bit. One knife that is a creation that I had in my head that I ordered, I didn't have any experience with, but I had experience with one that had that type of handle, one that had that type of blade profile, one that was that type of material. I knew it was going to be a good knife, and I did my first unboxing video. But all of the videos that are going to progress after this one are going to be knives that I have used or I'll be using on camera, and we'll be talking about the advantages and disadvantages of those particular knives as we go along. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm not going to tell you, here is the knife that you need to go out and buy, because I don't know. It really determines on where you are in the world, what you're doing, the job that you have to do, and what's available to you. It makes no difference if this is the greatest knife in the world, if this is the knife of all knives, but if you can't obtain it, if you can't get your hands on it, what difference does it make? It's useless to you, right? It's just useless knowledge. So what we can do is talk about different knives, different blade structures, profiles, handle profiles, what I've used, what works for me, what I think will help you as you start looking around at different knives. I collect knives. I love knives. I'm very passionate about knives. I have a lot of knives that we can go through, but I must admit, every time I find a favorite one, as certain jobs come up, I have to switch. And I've also used knives in times that it wasn't, I had a knife that would do that job better, but I chose to use that knife so that I could gain experience of how that tool worked in that particular application. And I think that is most important. So as we go through these videos and we start watching them, if you don't see the particular knife that you like, that you prefer, it's simply because I don't have it or I haven't used it. And I'm only going to speak about knives that I have spent enough dirt time out in the woods and utilized that I know work. I have a couple of knives that will not come up in these following videos simply because I haven't had the time to spend with them out in the wild yet to see how they perform under different circumstances. So I hope you enjoy this series, this introduction to just my humble opinion on sheath knives. Stand by for future videos. Thank you for your support, for all your comments, everything that you do to support both me and the business. Thank you so much for that. Until next time, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. Until next time, guys, God bless.